Have you ever dreamed of practicing Aikido in Japan? Or maybe you've already had the chance to do that, in fact. If you're watching this video at the time that it's published, I'm now in Japan once again. One trip of many. After the positive response to our last video, we're continuing our journey through the topic of training Aikido in Japan. Whether you're already in the planning stage or you're still just dreaming about training in Japan someday, I've got some more tips for you to make your Aikido experience in Japan truly memorable. For those of you who don't know me, I lived in Japan for about a decade back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I make it a point to return every year if at all possible. Now, after years of learning the do's and don'ts the hard way, I'm here to share some insights in this new video series. I hope today's video brings you not just tips, but insight, inspiration, and the motivation to help you elevate your Aikido practice. And if you're gearing up for your own Aikido adventure in Japan, consider this video your essential guide. Let's check it out. First up, one of the most important tips if you're going to be training Aikido in Japan is Shoshin. That should always be a super important topic or bullet point, so to speak, for you in your training anywhere, but maybe especially in Japan. So it's worth reminding you. If you're not familiar with this word Shoshin, it's made up of the kanji for beginner. Well, it means beginner's mind. I believe it's written with beginner and heart, which is often used to, the heart of the beginner, the mind of the beginner. So anyway, when you're training anywhere, and maybe especially Japan, it's really important, not just as an etiquette point and so that you don't offend people and this and that, but for you to get the most from your training. It's really important to practice this mentality of Shoshin. I am a beginner. If you've been training 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, if you can maintain Shoshin, beginner's mind, this will be so helpful to your Aikido. And also, it's very easy to offend someone as well if you don't maintain beginner's mind, if you start teaching on the mat or whatever. And I've seen people who make assumptions. I remember one time a small, beautiful Japanese woman was on the mat, and after the class, one of the guys went up to her. No, I don't remember exactly how it happened. But anyway, a young guy paired up with this older, beautiful Japanese woman who was much his senpai, but he had never seen her before. He had never trained with her before. He didn't realize that she was very much his senpai. And he kind of put his wrists out to her for her to grab his wrists. He was going to throw her a little bit after training. And with the most sweet smile, she grabbed his wrist and threw him. And then kept throwing him and throwing him and throwing him. And I still remember the look on his face after the first throw, because it was a good throw. It was nothing fancy, just kokyu nage, but he was like in midair when he realized, whoa, I think she's throwing me right now. So anyway, you never know who you're training with. And when in doubt, assume that you are kohai, assume that you don't know this technique yet, and you will gain so much from approaching things that way. If you've done katate dori shiho nage a million times, and then you're training shiho nage with somebody, and they tell you, try it this way, try it that way, why not? Why not? Why be so stuck in your ways that you can't try an old technique in a new way? Let me look at my notes here. And yes, this is another really great point. Sometimes I put some things through AI, and AI tells me like, oh, remember to say this, remember to mention that. So It's important for us to respect our training partners so that we can absorb these teachings from the sensei. And by the way, that's another point. If this person is training with that sensei regularly, then they know something that you might not be catching if you don't really empty out your mind and take on Shoshin attitude. So really respect your training partners and approach it with an open mind. And another thing, I liked this that AI told me. In Japan, the dojo is considered a sacred space for personal and collective growth. So leave your ego at the door and embrace the spirit of Aikido. What a great phrase. So, a sacred space for personal and collective growth. So we're working to not only progress in our own Aikido, but to help our training partners progress as well. And in my experience in Japan, what that meant was not to stop and explain stuff, but rather to move in such a way when you're taking ukemi that your partner, even if they were a complete beginner, if you move in such a way with your ukemi, ideally your partner can see what it is that they have to do, how they have to move. Next one. This is kind of related. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a moment, but I just wanted to give you a gift for joining me today. I want to give you a free resource, my body alignment checklist called The 3 Lines of Equilibrium in Budo. It's a simple PDF guide. The checklist will help you begin to identify and eliminate any ineffective or harmful patterns of movement so that you can preserve your body and improve your technique and continue training for years to come. You can download it at leah-suzuki.com/body alignment checklist with hyphens, or just click on the link in the description below. I hope you enjoy the gift and I hope you take action on it. Now let's get back to the video. Be careful not to convey an attitude of competition. So yeah, you want to kind of get a vibe of what's going on in the dojo, how the other students, especially the regular students of that teacher, the ones who show up all the time, how are they conducting themselves? And then you want to go with that. If you can also check to see how the senior student, can you tell who is the senior student of that teacher, and follow their example? That's the very best. So basically you're just keeping the philosophy of Aikido. You're using that in your demeanor and how you carry yourself in the dojo. So Aikido is all about non-competition, blending, adjusting to your surroundings. So do that. And let me see if there was any other things in my notes. Channel your energies, yeah. We want a spirit of collaboration and still having a training that is the appropriate level of challenge for both of us. So then the third point that I want to go over today is gratitude. So AI tells me expressing gratitude is a beautiful aspect of Japanese culture. After each training session, take a moment to bow and thank your partners and your sensei. The simple act reinforces the spirit of respect and appreciation that is integral to the Aikido philosophy. Can't really say it much better than that. I will add something though. One of my senpai told me, one of my American senpai told me long ago, that everything in Japan begins and ends with formality. I don't know if we could say everything, but certainly many, many things. So, you know, if you're already training Aikido in America, probably, or in anywhere really, probably you start off the class pretty formally. And you bow to the front, and then the teacher shows something, or you warm up, and then the teacher shows something, and then you find a partner. And there's all these beginnings and endings within the class. The class has a beginning and ending, and then every time you pair up with somebody, there's a beginning and ending. So, you get a partner, you say, "Onegai shimasu. Please train with me." A little bit of formality. Then you train with each other. Your belt falls off, your hair your hairband comes out, whatever. And you have some good throws and some lousy throws. And then the teacher says, "Hi, next one." And you say, "Arigatou gozaimashita." You thank each other. Again, formality. Okay? The beginning of the class, the end of the class. "Onegai shimasu. Arigatou gozaimashita." So it continues. The whole class, beginning and ending with formality, and then each piece of the class, beginning and ending with formality. And in our group, anyway, back in the 80s when I was there, 80s and 90s, so I think that it must still be this way, at least to a certain degree. The parties also. The waiters and waitresses, we'd have like 20 people sitting at a table weekly. And the waiters and waitresses would bring a bunch of bottles of beer. And of course, we wait, we pass them out. Then they come back with the cups. And we pass them out and start pouring for each other. And pay attention to each other while, it's another, what is it? A sign of communication and connection. Another opportunity for connection if you're pouring somebody else's glass. I know that that's done less and less these days in Japan. But when I was there, we always did that. And then we wait. You don't take a sip of your drink yet. And again, if you've been to Japan, and you probably know this, most groups do this. We wait until everybody has a drink. Then everybody has a drink. "Hai, kanpai, otsukaresama deshita." And then we drink together. So again, a little bit of formality. And then we have the party, and then somebody trips over something, and somebody's acting goofy, somebody had too much to drink, whatever. And then at the end of the party, we said, "Oh, everybody's leaving. Hey, your friend who drank too much, hey, buddy, pull it together." And we all stand up. Again, I don't know if this is still going on this way, but back in the 80s and 90s, we'd stand up, we'd help our buddy up, and whatever. And then, "Hai, arigatou gozaimashita, oyasumi nasai, ja sayonara." So this formal ending as well. So this is, again, I want to produce, I want to, I want to provide these do's and don'ts for my listeners here as not "don't do this because you'll get in trouble and that's no good and you got to show respect." Nothing like that. Just if you can keep some of these things in mind, you will get more from your trip. You'll have a better time. You'll have more fun. And you'll connect more with your Japanese training partners, which will deepen and that connection will deepen your experience. So it will be invaluable. So in conclusion, I hope that was all very helpful and interesting. Again, the 3 points that we went over: keep a positive mindset and shoshin. Open mind, positive mind, shoshin, beginner's mind. 2, please steer clear of unnecessary competition or teaching on the mat. 3, always express gratitude and connection. Formality, beginning and ending, formality. In the middle, if you train hard and your heart is good, you'll be forgiven for any faux pas that you may make. So please let me know in the comments section if you have any other questions about training in Japan. Again, I'm in Japan right now if you're watching this at the time it was published. And if you have your own tips from training in Japan, please leave those in the comments section as well. Let me know also what seminars you plan on attending in the upcoming months. You can check out my 2024 seminar schedule at leahsuzuki.com/seminars. And of course, please feel free to leave any other comments and questions in the comments section as well. Again, I want to give you a gift. It's my checklist called The 3 Lines of Equilibrium in Budo. It's from my paid online course called Proper Body Alignment and Movement, but it's free for you today as a thank you for watching my video. So the checklist will help you identify and eliminate ineffective or harmful patterns of movement so that you can preserve your body, improve your technique, and continue training for years to come. Just click on the link below, or in your browser type leah-suzuki.com/body alignment checklist with hyphens. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.